I don't know who it is. If it's,
Do we need masks? Is it, we're doing it?
Can you hear me?
That's up to you.
he cannot, he must be able to.
Yeah, I can.
Oh,
I muted everything, the computer and the app.
okay.
Justin, do we need masks?
Oh, that-
Email
That would be echo.
I usually call in on my phone, but I'm gonna try it this way.
So your laptop?
Alright,
Oh,
we're live too, by the way.
Okay.
Streaming.
We don't have shorter. Why don't I go, hey, I know
There's a caller one on there, who that might be one of the other ones.
that could be anybody. 'Cause-
It's Lisa McLean, I'm on.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna call shorter real fast. Hi, Shorter. All right, this is Renee, sorry. Are you getting on the live feed, or are you getting on GoTo? Everybody's ready to go. Everybody's here. So, yeah, just go ahead and. He already did, he's here. Are you doing the one that I sent, not the one Holly sent, the one I sent? I sent one after Holly that said, do not use Holly's. Okay, it went about, I don't know, 10 o'clock this morning.
I have the numbers.
I have the numbers here too, they're sitting right next to me.
Here.
It is 798-726-965. 965. Yes. Seven two six 965. Okay, you're on. Bye-bye.
Hi, Carter.
Okay.
We ready?
Hi.
Gotta be it.
Hey, who's your girlfriend next to you?
Oh,
I like her, don't you?
Yes.
Okay, before we get started, I would like to emphasize everyone to speak very slowly and into the microphone. And if anyone has any questions out there in computer land, raise your hand and Renee will verify this and tell me, and then we'll have you speak. Okay, so we'll start with our committee meetings. And the first one up is Mr. Heidick with Parks.
thank you, Mr. President. Bring to order the City Properties and Parks and Recreation Committee. It is Monday, May 4th. Time is 6:03. We are in council chambers. All members present with Councilman Coburn calling in and noted guests. We have no requests for legislation, miscellaneous discussion. The director has told me that the contraption down at Lake Anna that some people have asked about is a swan feeder, and that the Parks Commission will be live streaming this Thursday on the Parks Facebook page at 4:30. Does anybody have anything else?
Nina does.
Go ahead.
Mr. Hyde, what time is it Thursday? Did you say 4:30 or 5:30? What time's the Parks meeting?
4:30. Is that correct, Director?
Is that correct, Lisa McLean?
4:30.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, hearing nothing, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion that.
Do I have a second?
A second for health?
Precision
Precision.
Parks.
For Parks.
Parks, I'm sorry. Second for Parks?
For what?
To adjourn.
I'll second it.
Motion by Councilman Jaber, second by Councilwoman Coburn. All in favor, say aye.
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 And we are adjourned at 6:05.
Thank you very much. Next up is Public Welfare and Safety with Mrs. DeBevick.
Thank you, President. Public Welfare and Safety will begin their meeting. It's Monday, the 4th, 2020 at 6:07 PM with some members in council chamber and others remote. All members of the committee are present, as well as all our council members. We have two pieces of legislation to call for this evening. The first one is a letter from Mayor Judge requesting legislation to honor and give public recognition to Chief Kim Baldwin for his 31 years of dedicated service. Does anyone have any questions about this piece of legislation? Hearing none, do I have a motion to call for this?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Mr., oh, I'm sorry, who was that?
Greer.
Mr. Greer?
Mr. Green? Okay. And do I have a second?
Second.
And by Mr. Griffin? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. The second request for legislation is a letter from Mr. Persley requesting legislation to honor and give public recognition to firefighter Dave Connor, his 28 years of dedicated service to the city as a member of the Barberton Fire Department. Does anybody have any questions about this piece of legislation? Do I have a motion to call for this? Motion made by Mr. Griffin, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Greer, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And it passes. Does anyone have any miscellaneous discussion or question?
I have a question. Is this in health or safety?
Safety.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Mr. Greer, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Griffin. We are adjourned at 6:10.
Thank you very much. Next up is Street Sidewalks and Lighting with Mr. Greer.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to bring the order street, sidewalks, and lighting. Today is May 4th. We're in the council chambers. All committee members are present. Mrs. Angeloff and Mrs. Fry are on go-to meeting. And all other council members noted and guests. Today we have one piece of request for legislation. Letter from Mayor Judge requesting legislation to honor and give public recognition to Ron Gable for his 36 years of dedicated service to the city of Barberton. This is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Barberton to honor and give public recognition to Ron Gable for 36 years of dedicated service to the city. Does anybody have any questions? Any council members? Hearing none, do I have a motion to call for this?
I will make a motion to call.
Motion made by,
I seconded it.
motion made by Nina Angeloff and seconded by Carol Fry. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And passes. Miscellaneous discussion for street, sidewalk, and lighting. I have nothing. Does any committee members have anything?
I do not.
Any council
I
members?
do not either.
Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Motion made by Mrs. Angeloff. And do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Carol Fry. We are adjourned at 6:12 p.m.
Thank you very much. Next up is Rules, Marketing, and Development with Mr. Griffin.
Rules, Marketing, and Development. Select call this meeting to order today, May 4th, 2020. We are meeting remotely and in council chambers. All members present and those noted on the vote meeting and those in council chambers. Tonight, we have no request for legislation, but we do have some current legislation, the proposed charter amendment eliminating a primary election. First reading was April 27th, and ordinance was 46-2020. Our next is current election, 2020, proposed charter amendment, primary election date, first reading on 4/27. Are there remarks on these current pieces of legislation? Do you want me to read them again, or is everybody aware of them? Okay. Hearing none, we have a motion to adjourn.
Any miscellaneous discussion?
Oh.
Does anybody have any questions?
Has anybody talked to any constituents or anybody, any other city members about this at all? Has any feedback at all from any other constituents?
In Ward 1, I have talked to a couple people. They, a lot of them are leaning towards moving the primary rather than eliminating it. But I reassure them or let them know that this is ballot initiatives. This is not, we don't decide, but this will go, that they'll have a choice to decide come the general election.
So they can see.
Okay, Mr. Heidi?
It's about split between moving it and elimination it from people that I've spoken with.
Well, it has to get out of council first.
Right.
In
Right,
order to
just-
get on the ballot.
Right, but just to get a feel of how
Right,
people's feelings are.
right. Well, this is a two-party town for a long time, and that's change, and change is not easy. Changing the primary date, that's okay with me, most people, but changing, just eliminating the primary altogether, that's gonna be a tough sell.
That's why the people would be best served to decide.
The partisan, parties, this is just change the date from one, so we can join, the Akron or save us money.
Right,
I guess we could address that matter later, and this will be brought before the the city to vote on if they want changes for this.
Another question for the finance director. Did you get any emails back from the Summit County about the 45,000?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay, Nina has a question.
I don't have a question, I just have a comment that there is a generation of citizens in Barberton that like the two-party, background. So, you know, that likes the two parties. That's my comment, and that's what I've gotten from people.
I'm not certain, did Mr. Flaker mention that he had not heard back from Summit County Board of Elections yet?
Correct.
That's correct.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear very well.
Do we have any more remarks? We're hearing none, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So we're adjourned at 6:17.
Okay, next up is Environmental Health and Social Services with Mr. J.
Calling to order environmental health and social services. Date is May 4, 2020. Time is 6:17. Place is council chambers. Members present. Mr. Shorter Griffin is through telecommunications through the phone line. Other calls and members noted, and visitors also. Request for legislation, there is none. And open this discussion for miscellaneous. Any council members?
None for me.
Hearing none, motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Motion first by Mr. Griffin and second by Mr. Heidick. We adjourned at 6:18.
Thank you. Next up is Planning, Annexation, and Codes with Mrs. Angela.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is Monday, May 4th. It is 6:18, and we're meeting remotely and in council chambers. All members of the Planning Annexation Codes meeting is present, along with the rest of council and any guests as noted. Topics of discussion. Currently, we have no legislation requests, but we do have one current piece of legislation, Ordinance 50/2020, titled Formation of Community Improvement Corporation, authorizing the formation of a Community Improvement Corporation for the city of Barberton and approving its articles of incorporation. Do I have any questions from the committee first? Hearing none, do I have any questions from the rest of the body? Okay, everybody did read the articles of incorporation, and there's no questions? No?
There is one.
And this was, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I have not had an opportunity to read them yet.
Okay.
We are going three readings, correct?
Yes, yes. I was just saying that. We had the first reading, April 27th. This will go three readings.
Good. I had a busy weekend, so I didn't have an opportunity to read that.
Like maybe graduation from Ohio State. Okay, if you have any questions, I'm sure the mayor, you can email the mayor. I'm going to speak on his behalf. Is that okay, the mayor?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Any miscellaneous discussion? I have none. None? Okay, I'm sorry. Do I have a motion
Motion to adjourn.
Joyce Coburn first? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Mr. Greer, second, and we are adjourned at 6:20 PM. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is city utilities with Mrs. Coburn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to call the utilities meeting to order. We are both in the city building and in our homes. This is May 4th. All members are present. We, along with other council members and those noted. We have no request for registration this evening, and miscellaneous discussion from the committee. Is there any other miscellaneous discussion from anyone in the chambers? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I will second it.
We are adjourned at 6:21.
Okay, last but not least is finance with Mrs. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. President. Finance Committee is meeting, both weekly and in council chambers tonight, Monday, May the 4th, 2020. It is now 6:21. All members of the committee are, present, either remotely or in council chambers, as well as guests as needed on my sheet. We have one late piece of legislation, therefore we need to invoke Council Rule 702 to suspend Council Rule 302. Do I have a motion to do that?
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
I will second it.
all right. Motion made by Mr. Vedges and seconded by Mrs. Angela. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, this piece of legislation is a draft ordinance titled Restoration of Local Government Funds, strongly urging the Ohio governor and members of the Ohio General Assembly to fully restore the local government fund. We had this legislation last week, I think, but the whereas was not filled in, therefore we're going to, you've had an opportunity to look at it, and we're going to vote on it again tonight in a special legislative meeting. Does anybody have any comments about this piece of legislation?
Mr. Heidi?
Mr. Hyde?
Thank you. The resolution with the wording here is pretty much the same as it's been for the past few years, which is another reason that I supported it last week. I'll continue to support it again this week because of the former governor case. It's just direct assault on locale's funds. And that's really all I have to say. I still get mad thinking about the former governor and what he did to everybody.
I think we're all in agreement on that. And let's hope that, since there's a pandemic, that maybe will move the needle and they'll, listen to these local communities. Do I have, does anybody else have any comments or questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion to call for this piece of legislation in its new form?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Mrs. Stefanik.
I will
Seconded
second.
by Mrs. Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it passes unanimously. We have some existing legislation. It is ordinance number 59/2020. And, it is to enter into contract with the tax agency. We had the first reading on 4/13/2020. The second reading was on 4/27/2020. And, the third reading will be at our next meeting. Does anybody have any miscellaneous discussion about, for finance? Or have any questions about Rita?
Mr. Greer.
None.
Okay.
Mr. Greer, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
That was me, I wasn't paying attention.
Things are a little bit wonky right now. Where are we looking? I guess this is more for the mayor, but finance-wise, what are we expecting as far as impact currently? I know this changes literally every day. As percentage-wise, I know it was quoted percentage-wise before, but are we still on that path to 20 to 30% second quarter projection?
Yeah, not just second quarter, just for the year. You know, B&W was about 12 to 15% of our income tax budget. That's gone. So, you know, I'm projecting 20 to 25%. Reduction in income tax due to COVID. We had, because B&W stayed longer than they said they were, we had a carryover from them staying that additional quarter. So that's kind of getting us through this. Myself and Mr. Flaker are constantly talking about what the numbers are as they come in. And it's just not income tax. If people aren't working, they're probably not filling up their gas tank. So the gas taxes affects our budget and permits and those types of fees. So we're kind of tracking everything. So I'm still sticking with 20 to 25%. And that seems to be the norm when we talk to other municipalities and we talk to counties and states with sales tax and everything. So still 20 to 25%. I'll have more, since the income tax deadline was pushed to July, we'll have more accurate information in August, September, October. So this isn't going to be done anytime soon. And I don't want to take, no one in the administration wants to make a hasty judgment and say, well, this is what everyone else is doing, so we're going to follow suit if we don't have the data to support it. We also don't want to wait until the last minute instead of cutting, let's say 10%, having to cut 30% because we waited. So it truly is a day by day, week by week kind of analysis. So we're just keeping tabs on everything, and we're kind of trying to benchmark previous years, which, I mean, there's so many variables, it's difficult. But so August, September, October, we'll have a much more accurate forecast.
Great, awesome, thank you.
Mr. Hayek?
Thank you. Again, this would be for the mayor here. If it passed, I know it wouldn't take effect for a while there, but would the new system for that RETA help you be able to forecast, since they said they can do things in real time?
Definitely, yes.
Thank you.
I don't know if Mr. Flaker wants to add anything, but
No, I would have to agree with them
The
having,
microphone.
I would have to agree because, I mean, they're able to provide us with more real-time data. They're not gonna be a month behind always. The biggest, they're gonna be behind by 1 day. And basically, that's the data entry day. Other than that, they're able to forecast, I think, a lot better because they have more models and programs and everything that CCA doesn't have. So they will be able to provide us with a lot more information than what CCA has, just because of technology.
Thank you.
Renee,
Yes.
Carla's got her hand up.
Carla.
Oh, I'm sorry. Carla?
I just was wondering, how we were coming with the grant for, technology. I know all of city council received an email from, the law department, last week regarding the fact that it's our responsibility to make sure that we are streaming our meetings effectively and, everyone, we can be heard and that we're following the law. So I just wondered what the status was with the grant, and I also, think that as city council as a whole, we should consider, giving Renee the authority to do what she needs to do to get us where we need to be in compliance. So I just wondered what the status was on the grant, and if we have to wait for the grant, or can we appropriate money and have the grant be reimbursed if we receive it.
so the
And
grant,
I don't know, maybe Renee can weigh in a little bit also as to what she needs or what she feels we need.
so the grant has been submitted. It'll be fast tracked, so we should find out very, very soon. We've been in talks with Mr. Sattler and Mr. Witten on and with Mr. Incravati from the courts on what they have, what we need, and how the two can work together. So we've submitted the grant without giving them the specifics of what we need. I submitted for the full up to $15,000, knowing, as I mentioned last week, that there's another organization in town that is willing to give matching funds up to $7,500. I don't believe we'll need the full 15,000, and I put that in the application. So that's kind of, the process has started. It'll be fast tracked, and we'll get them the information on the specifics as soon as possible.
Okay, so Renee, can you weigh in for me and tell me what I'm sure that you've been working closely with IT.
Well, after
And tell me,
Lisa's letter on Friday, Keith came to me and asked me what I thought I needed, and it was hard. And he said he's starting to talk to all the members, and he's speaking with the mayor and he's speaking with the courts. But he said he's going to try and speak to all council members and see what they feel they need also. And he said he wants to put a committee together and all of us talk about what we feel we need. That's what he said his goal is to do. But he's working really closely with Mr. Incravati, from what I understand.
I guess my concern is that, while this is our third time and we've definitely gotten better, so, right, guys, we aren't listening to huge, loud noises, but we are still, hearing every other word. And so I just, I don't want it to be a month later if we're still discussing what we're gonna do. So
Well,
I
I believe the what they're really speaking about for the money is a long-term in the big picture. Once this COVID is over, we can do some to work to get this under control, but we're looking at the big picture. And once this is over with, this will be against the law for us to do. But we should have the capability to do it. But I think overall, we're looking at live streaming and getting this all together, working with the courts, they're gonna have cameras and everything, and that's what I believe they're looking at.
perfect.
Working with it now, but looking at it overall, not just right now.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Mrs. Antoine?
Yes, Carla, I had talked to Keith too, because of course, my computer doesn't have the capabilities of a camera and speaker, because it's just a very cheap computer, that my children bought for me. So I at this point where I have to buy a new laptop, but I didn't even know that, until I had a conversation with Keith, and that's one of the things he said. He said, for the work with everybody, this will be a long term, and that everybody should be happy with it. And he feels, like the mayor said, they're on the fast track to get something done. And he's still very confident about what all of our needs are and how him and Mr. Incravati can put that together. So that was my conversation. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. I just was concerned, I just want to make sure that we're in compliance and that, we don't, and basically that Renee, we don't want to make Renee's job any more difficult than it already is right now. So,
Why not? Come on.
She had what she needed, and, if city council as a whole needs to give her permission to move forward, I would be the first one to want to do that. So, I just wanted to let you know that, Renee. So, thank you.
And I wanted to say something, Renee. I only called you 3 times today, so that's not bad.
Well, you're on here and you sound really well, so
There you go. It's not my computer.
that's right. All right.
Another quick question.
Anybody else have
Mr.
questions
Jaber
or
does.
comments?
Mr. Jaber has a question.
The grant for $7,500 coming from a different, where's that coming from?
Another organization in town.
Who's that?
I'm not at liberty to say at this point.
Not liberty to say?
Right.
Is it, but it is locally in city of Barberton? Okay. Thank you.
So when they give me the go-ahead, I'll make that. That's kind of their story to tell.
All right, appreciate it.
Joyce, did you want to say something or no?
My computer didn't work. I'm here.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments about any of the things that we discussed in finance? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, motion made by Carla Bevy,
I will
and seconded by Nina Angela, and we are adjourned at 5:35 PM.
6:35.
Oh, this has the wrong time on it. My computer, did after, yeah, it didn't change, obviously. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. We'll get into the committee of the whole meeting in 2 minutes.
That was not bad. Not bad at all.
Could everybody hear everybody really well?
Yeah, that went pretty well.
You guys could hear everybody?
You have been.
The mayor, he kind of breaks in and out, but I can,
The people in chambers are hard to hear.
yeah.
I can hear everybody on the
Oh, I
phone.
know that. I think that
Nineties maybe?
There's still a little feedback
it
from,
started with point A.
Mr. Tabor or Tom, and it's a little delay in there also. What's gonna be different when we get up to speed? What's gonna be really different?
Well, to be honest, this won't happen. I mean, because once we get back to normal, you guys aren't allowed to do this. That would be against the law. So just during this COVID is the only time you'll be allowed to do this.
Okay, I mean, what's the update gonna consist of? What the IT, what they gonna do to make it better?
It will just be a live stream from all of us.
I think we look at live streaming and we look at the
Hey,
microphones.
beautiful, how are you?
In council,
What you guys are doing?
It's also a fail safe.
Yeah.
Never this happen again.
You guys have a good day.
Come back and call.
That's what I mean.
Love you guys. You been watching?
Conspiracy question.
How's my hair look?
Did you hear that? Anything about the boom?
Yeah, from what I understand, it's just gonna be,
Love you guys.
A couple days ago.
our live stream. From now on, we'll be doing our
Remember a couple
live
years
stream.
ago,
This
meetings.
random drop.
Hopefully all the,
Homework today?
then all the
Where that
microphones will work together and,
It was like
you know, the Herald won't have to live stream us anymore.
I know there's
Yeah.
they do some night work at
Talk to you later. Be
Barberton
good.
Steel.
I'm not
Make
quite
sure
sure.
you brush your teeth and floss.
Yeah, even the Columbus Dispatch even did.
Mix
it.
your floss always.
Yeah, and, and
Yeah,
we may even go to, you guys all have
Talking about it.
But we just don't know.
laptops or something, yeah,
I
or
heard one.
Chromebooks
I
or
stopped
something.
over at Grizzlies the other day.
And where I just start
There were like
downloading
3 of them.
all your guys' stuff that way.
Be about 90.
Because there would be,
It seems like they're only
that for a few years,
I
I
can
think
have to
that
pay
would
attention
be
during the day and that's it, because there's other things
a
going on.
good savings.
I have personally heard it.
Down the road,
I usually
Mhm.
stick with
that,
It doesn't,
because
it doesn't
there's a
sound
lot of
like
money
slow.
spent on
It
paper
just sounds
Right.
like
and,
I put the last
you know,
month,
the time you spend.
Yeah.
literally for like a half a second.
And
Had that
what I
other
understand from other
What-
clerks, that I would be able to, like, we'd be talking about
And
it,
it always
just
seems like
click
it's
on
way
it,
off
and it would
the
come to all, it would be
Like I
linked
said, I
together,
read the Columbus
like during the
Dispatch,
meeting,
it said
it would
people
show up
were
on your
green
Chromebook.
all the way up to Copley.
So that's one of the options.
Gas
That would
lines
be
in,
the signs on
done green.
it.
It's weird. I don't know.
It's.
People are asking and I'm
It's
just.
just- it doesn't sound like fireworks. It
And
doesn't
I
sound like
don't
an
know, but you still
explosion.
have to have a hard
I
copy.
think you have to have a hard copy, because
That's it.
I have,
You
I have to,
about love.
like,
Yeah.
there's
I hear
this
it by my house.
legislation, it has to be signed on 2 pieces of paper.
We
In
had
the
it a couple
official
years ago in
books,
the wintertime. It was
and the mayor
it's a,
gets it, so
like a crazy phenomenon that happens.
I
but
would
it
still
only
think we
does it
have
in
to
the
have one
wintertime.
hard copy.
People are
I
hearing
think
it.
by law you
Yeah.
have to, because I have to have it in a
One
safe.
curb cut that. And it was drained.
It's kind of cool, if you ever, anybody's ever bored, come down, there's something like,
Like the old.
Well, they
I
don't
don't
want to use
know.
that for junkyard.
Like I have.
It's really cool.
differentiate because I've got lives across the street.
It's really neat.
Shoots off fireworks.
Really, really.
At like not 2 in the morning.
There's even books in there that show,
It's like,
when people were born, how
But
they
then
wrote them
I
in.
do hear that boom, and it can be like, it's been frequent the past couple of days. So I
Oh,
don't know,
yeah.
And
it's
so they.
maybe one of those people.
But I think by law, we have to have a signed copy.
Oh, Tanner, right? Yeah, no, I haven't heard it yet, so I could.
Yeah, I walked outside today and it was down.
Something got
It was down a significant amount, just overnight.
Yeah, they cut the curb.
Yeah, he called for
They're
it
gonna
last
start
week. That's
calling
Yeah,
it. That's why we can't do storm
I
projects.
didn't get mine.
They're all just so saturated, it's next to it.
So you gotta work on that.
I just want to tell you today.
Soon as I
is
get
my
home,
grandson's
can we
birthday.
get
My
it?
Ken's
As soon as I get
birthday.
home, that's our first. I'm gonna call him up. I'm gonna say, it was your
And I
iPad.
ride
Yeah.
out the Longhorn, and they got the loans, and I'm, I can't
Once we
road.
restore that. too,
With all my
it's
other
good 10,
friends.
15 feet deep, about 60 feet wide. That should do it.
Oh, let's see,
We're thinking about maybe buying.
She's gonna be 15, but I told him on the card, I put happy 14 birthday, because I don't want to be a 15.
You good to go, Mr. Greer?
And when he
Yes,
was
sir.
born, I said, oh, my Ken's Day baby, nobody,
Everybody ready?
that was it.
Okay, we're gonna start.
Okay, this is the committee of the whole of Barberton City Council. Today is Monday, May 4th, 2020. I call this meeting together at 6:40. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, citizens addressing council. Do we have anybody?
No.
Okay. We'll go right into our committee reports. First up is planning, annexation, and codes with Mrs. Angela.
Thank you, Mr. President. Planning, annexation, and codes met this evening at 6:15. All members were in council chambers. All the members were there along with other guests. And we had no new requests for legislation. We have one current piece of legislation, and that is the title Formation of the Community Improvement Corporation, authorizing the formation of a community improvement corporation for the city of Barberton and improving its articles of incorporation. We had no comments other than Mrs. DeBevy had a very busy weekend and she hadn't had a chance to read the articles of incorporation. We had no miscellaneous discussion and we were adjourned at 6:20 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up is streets, sidewalks, and lighting with Mr. Greer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Streets, sidewalks, and lighting met today, May 4th, in council chambers. All members of the committee were present, and all council members were present, and guests noted. We had one request for legislation. A letter from Mayor Judge requesting legislation to honor and give public recognition to Ron Gable for his 36 years of dedicated service to the city. Ron Gable joined the city of Barberton June 6, 1984. His name, obviously he don't really need too much of introduction. I knew on council and I knew who he was. But we talked about that. And there was no miscellaneous discussion, and streets, sidewalk, and lighting adjourned at 6:12 p.m.
Thank you very much. Next up is city utilities with Mrs. Colbert.
City utilities met this evening in various locations. We have no request for legislation and no miscellaneous discussion. We adjourned at 6:21. With that, I pass.
Thank you very much. Next up is public welfare and safety with Mrs. DeBevick.
Thank you, Mr. President. Public welfare and safety met today at 6:10 in some in council chambers and some remotely. We had two requests for legislation. The first one is a resolution a letter from Mayor Judge requesting legislation to honor and give public recognition to Chief Ken Baldwin for his 31 years of dedicated service. And the second request for legislation was a letter from Mr. Pursley requesting legislation to honor and give public recognition to firefighter Dave Connor for his 28 years of dedicated service to the city as a member of Barberton Fire Department. We did not have miscellaneous discussion, but I did want just to make a comment that I'm excited to see that we are rebuilding the fire department, and we've had several new hires over the last week, and that makes me happy. And with that, public welfare and safety will pass.
Thank you very much.
I have a question, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
On these resolutions, are we going to go 3 readings, 1 reading, and then give it to them when we can all meet? Or how do we want to do this? Because I believe these are 3 people you're gonna want in here at some time.
I guess we didn't explore that in committee. You know, we can go 3 readings if we'd like, or 2, just kind of see how it plays out over the next several weeks here with, just hold it. How does my committee feel about that? We will be having safety next week, so I guess we could, again, correct? Mr. Greer, Mr. Griffin, what are your thoughts?
This is Mr. Greer. I'm completely fine going 1 reading with emergency wording.
Okay. I
don't have emergency wording on them now, but I'm just,
Saying the wrong one.
I'm assuming we're not bringing them in here. So
No, right.
even if we go 3, we probably wouldn't have them in here on the 3rd reading, probably.
We can meet outside of Lake Anna around the.
Yeah.
Let's do that, meet outside. Like day like this.
Mr. Jaber has said we could always do it outside at Lake Anna or
Well,
something,
if that's the
and
case,
give it to them.
we should
Yeah,
do 1 reading because next week's supposed to be terrible with weather.
Either way, I mean, the judge is gonna go outside and marry people, we can give them stairs or whatever's easier.
I guess what we need to do is see when they're, I guess, I can try to get in touch with Mr. Baldwin and, Mr. Connor and see when they're comfortable coming, because obviously we don't wanna have them commit to anything when they're not comfortable.
You can always pass them and then present them. We've done that quite a bit.
Right, so I'm okay with passing it and just presenting it, when we get back to normal.
So 1, 2, 3 readings.
That's okay with me. Like I said, we could pass it now, and you don't have to give it to them now. You could, have that at a later date when it's safer or they feel comfortable or something like that, as long as we get to them.
Or we can do it there, we also do the car parade, it'd be fun, go by the house.
Right.
That's what we did.
I think the drafts are all filled in as well, so I'm okay with just voting. So we'll just vote next week.
Okay, that's what we did for Officer Cheatham. We passed it and he came in like 2 or 3 weeks later.
3 weeks later.
I see no problem with that.
So 1 reading, so Renee, so we'll vote on that next week.
Okay. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Sorry.
That's all right. Is that it for the committee?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. President, with that I pass.
Thank you very much. Rules, Marketing, and Development, Mr. Griffin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rules of Marketing and Development met tonight, remotely and in council chambers. All members were present. Tonight, we had, no request for legislation, but we do have 2 pieces of current legislation. Ordinance number 46-2020, titled Proposed Charter Amendment Elimination of Primary Election. The first reading on the 27th of April. And we also had ordinance number 47-2020, proposed charter amendment, primary election date. First reading was on the 27th of April. In our miscellaneous discussion, we did talk about primary date, bipartisan primaries and things like that. So, with that, I pass and we, adjourn at 6:17.
Thank you very much. Next up is Environmental Health and Social Services with Mr. Jaber.
Thank you, Mr. President. Environmental Health and Social Services met today, May 4th, 2020, at 6:17 in council chambers. All members present, Mr. Griffin to telecommunication phones. Other council members noted and visitors noted also. We had no new request for legislation and no discussion for miscellaneous. And with that, I pass, sir.
Thank you very much. City Properties, Parks and Recreation, Mr. Hyde.
Thank you, Mr. President. City Properties, Parks and Recreation met this evening, May 4th, 2020, at 6 PM in the council chambers. All members were present, some on remote. We had no new requests for legislation. Our miscellaneous discussion involved the Swan Feeder at Lake Anna, and that our Parks Commission meeting will be Thursday at 4:30, and it will be live streamed on the Parks and Recreation Facebook page. We adjourned at 6:05, and with that, I pass.
Thank you very much. Finance and Personnel, Mrs. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. President. Finance and Personnel met tonight in council chambers, May 4th, 2020. The meeting began at 6:21. All members of the committee were present as well as guests. We had one late request for legislation and had to invoke Council Rule 702 and Council Rule 302. And it was draft ordinance titled Restoration of Local Government Funds. And this, we had this piece of legislation previously, but all the information was not included in it. Therefore, we are going to have a special legislative meeting tonight to pass this out of committee. Pass this legislation so that we can send it down to the state with the other communities that are involved in this. We have existing legislation on the agenda, and it is the enter into contract with the Regional Income Tax Agency. First reading was April 13th. The second was April 27th, and we will vote on it. The final vote will be, the third reading and final vote will be next week. Miscellaneous discussion, we had some questions about Rita, and also there was a question to the mayor about how the city is faring with COVID-19 and how our revenue flow is looking. He indicated that we will probably be down about 25% at this point, but of course this pandemic is just really in the early stages. We don't know where this is all going to go. It was also discussed, Mrs. Bebeck asked about the grant through the foundation for aid in putting our technology in order. And there was some small discussion about how that will work out. And Mrs. Fox weighed in and told us what she knew. And we adjourned at 6:35 PM. And with that, finance will pass.
Thank you very much. Mayor's report. None on that. Anything else from council members or any department heads?
Yes, sir, a couple questions.
Go for it.
Mr. Mayor, between Brady and Raymond Avenue, 15th Street in the corner, what's going on in that area? I've had a couple constituents ask. One of those on 903 Brady, and one was on 907 Brady.
Yeah, so the city acquired that land and recently sold it to a developer,
Okay. And the developer is,
Larry Janko.
is there a future what they want to do in that corner?
Yeah, we're working with them to build a building and bring in some jobs.
And is it manufacturing industrial jobs or?
Yeah, it's zoned light industrial.
Okay, appreciate that. And also, the old Shamrock Motel, there's been like 7 to 9 semi-truck drivers. I have potential business owners wanting to put trucks out there also, but right now it's just city property. You guys willing to sell that or you guys?
Well, they should contact me in the planning department.
Okay, I did email Stacy, but she's been on work from home or.
Yeah, so, yeah.
No emails have been back from that one either.
Okay.
If you can.
Yeah, have her contact, or have those people contact me.
All right.
Yeah.
That is city-owned property, correct, still? Okay. And also on zoning for This is again, I emailed Stacy, but since she's been off, so let's ask you also. For the salon, we have the young lady wants to open the salon, right there on 472 4th Street, over by the middle school. Stacy's known about it.
Okay.
If you can, just see if you can get contact. She emailed me and you a couple things. One was on 9th Street, she emailed you also. Have you heard anything about that at all yet, or?
They have, whoever the applicant is hasn't filled out the proper forms, and I believe, Stacy was working with the lady on 4th Street for quite a while, so yeah, we've already had that in our database.
The 9th Street should try to get a hold of Stacy, I think, 'cause she's working from home. But thankfully Debbie Schreiner, she's a real estate agent, she does an excellent job representing the city, trying to do what she can for the city. And the last question is also for the empty vacant lots, the residential ones.
Mhm.
Is there any plans for those? Are we trying to sell them? Are we trying to sit on them?
It depends on if we own them and where they're at.
We own, there's a couple of them that we own, but then all of a sudden they're sold to Habitat Humanity. Is there a reason why we sold to those guys, or?
Yeah, we, in that case on 4th Street, as they're talking about, we contacted the owners of both adjoining properties.
Okay.
And I know the one lady living in the one house said she never got a letter, yet her relative who owns the property did say that she got a letter from Planning Director Stefan last year. They did not fill out the proper forms, either neighbor.
Okay.
So we work with Habitat all the time, so we donated the property to them.
No, is there a better way to contact that owner? Like maybe a certified letter? I mean, a letter can get lost in the mail.
Well, she said she got the letter.
The owner did say they got a letter? Okay.
Yeah.
Both owners said they got the letter?
I talked to the one owner.
Okay, but the other owner, you didn't contact them at all? You didn't talk to them?
I'm assuming that they did.
Well, they
But that's
did.
handled through planning.
That's, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand hands are playing, we're all the same team here.
Oh, yeah,
So, I
definitely.
mean, you definitely, people look up to you for the answers. Planning, they don't know who planning is, they look to you for the
Right,
answers.
but that letter would have been generated out of the planning department.
Right.
So, and I don't review every letter that goes out, and I can't guarantee that every recipient receives their letter, but I did talk to the owner of the one property,
Okay.
and she admitted that she did get a letter last year.
I think that back to the planning where we should change things around. I think you should get every letter for every business who wants to come to the city. And ought to have letters sent out to us for email, so we can all have the same, same look at it. Because right now, it's not very organized. I think-
Well, I do get involved in every business. You're talking about two different things.
So no, I got back to business. The first thing I said was residential, then I said,
Yeah.
let's go back to
So,
business.
yeah, I do get involved in every business.
Okay.
That's the lifeblood of the city.
Right,
So, went on some visits today, actually.
okay.
So, yeah, like
You do a
brought up
better
the
job
lady-
of communicating with council members, like it's,
when it's appropriate, yeah.
what do you mean when it's appropriate? Why
Well,
not
like
every
you
time?
had brought up the lady last week. who
Right,
We worked with over a year ago.
right,
So, in that instance, I don't know how far back you want me to go, but yeah, we usually we work with the chamber and we work with the business, and we usually give them a certificate and do like a ribbon cutting. So, yeah, we involve the council people. That one, I'm surprised, is just opening up now.
okay. How about the one I just told you about on the corner of Raymond and Brady? That's Joyce's, Ward 5. Did you contact her at all about this?
That went through city council.
She was over city council. Did you contact her or email her or email anybody else
Well, it
about
went through city council.
Okay.
So, yeah,
that? And when did that go through?
Last year.
Last year?
Joyce is gonna speak. But
The one on Raymond and Berea, but that was not through city council. I knew about it because it went through BCDC.
So it was not through city council.
Does
So-
it,
it was
the sale of the
acquired through
property was,
BCDC. It was sold through city council last year.
2019, we sold it.
Right, we all knew about that one.
Right, like I said, it's more communication, like, we're all new here, the council members, it'd be nice to just communicate
Yeah.
with the.
You can contact me anytime you want.
Okay, I will, definitely. And, if somebody does have a future interest in a piece of property that's vacant residential, who should they contact? You and the planning department?
Yeah.
Okay. And back to the Shamrock, what should I tell the business owner that wants to just contact you and the planning
Contact
department?
me, yeah.
Okay.
Joyce wants to speak.
If a business is moving into my ward, if they live in my ward, I represent them. If they don't live in my ward, I don't represent them unless they ask me to. The administration represents them. And unless they reach out to me, it's really none of my business unless their neighbor, who I do represent, has a problem with them.
I think it should be your business. In your ward, you should be in connection with all businesses that come to your ward.
She was talking about businesses outside of her ward.
She said outside of her ward?
Yes.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. President. I know the pandemic, coronavirus is unprecedented and we're having problems everywhere in the city, but we have a lot of problems that weren't addressed before the pandemic. And that just makes things worse now for people. Over the weekend, I talked to 3 people, one lady on Robertson Avenue, one lady today on Dan Street, and I have an elderly man, he's about 90 years old. He hasn't had hot water since the tornado. His basement is still flooded. I told him I would get a pump and pump it out of myself and relight his hot water tank for him or get somebody to do it. The problem is he has so much water in his yard that pumping his basement out wouldn't help because it's just saturated down in there. That part on Elton Avenue, we need to try and pump some water out of it or something because it's just a health hazard and people think it's a lake down there, a natural lake, I guess it is. And we also have problems on, a lady called me tonight on Dan Street about properties that are in disrepair. And that's just not in the 3rd ward. I drive over, we have them all over. And I know we're working with a limited crew. And I know the problems we've had. But now we just got an excuse, you know what I'm saying? And there's always going to be something. It's not going to be the pandemic, it's going to be something. So we're going to have to start addressing these problems, at least tell the people so they would know. And same way with the trash cans, the water bills or somebody that they can't leave the trash outside all week. Somebody needs to be fined or something. But, you know, I listen to this stuff almost on a daily basis. And it's frustrating for me because all I do is I just tell them that I turn it in or I take pictures or something like that. But something needs to be done, even if it's just on a small scale to give the citizens some kind of hope that we might get there, you know? So that's all I have to say. But the lady on Robinson Avenue, I got her problem solved. She's very, very receptive, and the people really, the guys in the garage, they helped her out, and she was satisfied. In fact, I was up there yesterday, and she was happy. But we do have a lot of things that we need to address that's been long standing, and it's just, you know, we just don't have with some of the citizens, we don't have a good rapport with them. They really talk and think really negative about it. Regardless of who the administration is, it hasn't really changed over the years. But that's all I have to say.
Anyone else?
Mr. President, one more thing also.
Oh.
I think also, back to planning, it's very huge for us to keep getting businesses in town. We need this, even the little mom and pop shops. I think you as a mayor should take the extra step, even if you do the application, like the one for 113, and also for the salon tomorrow, give them a call. You'd be surprised that call you hear from the mayor, because I mean, they're gonna look up to you. I mean, we're council members, we're just the middleman. And I'm not trying to put you on the plate, but it helps. I mean, we need every business we can get.
No, and that's a good point, and I do that.
Okay.
I don't have the ability time-wise to do every single one. I can't guarantee I've called every single business, but I stop out at the businesses on a regular basis. Like I said, I was at a few today doing BR&Es. We give a certificate when we're notified. So yeah, we do everything we can to make sure we have, we have a team that goes for the smaller businesses. We have a team that works with other agencies on the corporations and larger businesses. So, yeah, we've done more to kind of repair the relationship between the city and these businesses over the last few years. And it wasn't easy, but and we've got some great programs that we're dealing with as well.
I would hate to see these two ones, because the one guy with the truck stop would be great for the city. I'll get you his number tomorrow. But also one on 113th, I mean, it'd be great for the city, good income. And I'd hate to see them go to Norton. I mean, they brought us a couple times, and me and Mr. Tide talked about this. And I'd hate to see them go to a different city. It's good income for the city of Barberton. Even though it might be a little bit compared to the big companies we've lost already, but anything's gonna help.
Right.
So,
It all starts with that form,
Right.
zoning compliance form.
still with that form, call them up, say, hey, you guys need help with that form? Any questions I can answer for you? I mean, just open up to them a little bit more. I mean,
Yeah, well, if I don't have their name or number,
through Stacy's email, you had that one, communicate with me. Remember, she sent both of us an email. Did you look at that one? I mean, that's right
there's
there.
no number on that.
She has information. I mean, I know you guys communicate more than that through that email, of course, but I mean, like I said, it's off the subject, but we gotta work a little bit harder than we're doing. Right now,
Starts with that form.
yeah, but even without that form, it's still, if somebody's interested, without that form, you guys can go online and get stuff off the internet. That's all BS. I mean, it's a start, like, call them, like, hey, let's meet somewhere, let's meet, you know?
But we do that already. Whenever there's a business that wants
But
to.
this one you didn't, so I mean, that's
So
something
they
right
haven't
there.
even filled out the form, so I don't know if they're really interested. So once they fill out the form, we typically have the business in,
Okay.
and we talk about programs that they may be eligible for. Because there's always these if, and, or but situations. If it's a company that's going to be expanding or building, I tell them, instead of having 5 different meetings, bring your engineer, your architect, your lawyer, bring whoever you want. And we'll bring stormwater and utilities and planning.
That's for big companies, we're talking about
That's
mom and
for
pop shops right
anyone,
now.
because we have programs for smaller companies as well. So we bring them in as often as possible. But time is a factor for both the city and for that business. So, and then there's a lot of agencies out there where we send people to Akron SCORE, for example, because maybe they don't qualify for any programs, but they need those programs for startup. Well, we can't violate the rules of those programs, so we send them to someone like Akron SCORE who can help them for free. So, and that's been very, very beneficial.
Go ahead. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm gonna tap on Mr. Jobber's thing. I think what Councilman Jobber's getting at is, I mean, we understand what he's getting at, but that conversation we had with the small business plan about changing our website, making it more accessible, and working for us 24/7 rather than business hours. And that way, accessibility is huge. And when we're busy and the business is busy, you know, we're not always gonna align, but we can always give them the resources right up front.
Right.
And make it a simple contact form.
Right now, it's not. You go
Right.
online, it's terrible.
And so
The website's a joke. I mean, it's very, very wrong right now, and it needs to be worked on.
If I may, with working with our IT department, with what could be the future in here, maybe, and with them getting input from all of us, I think that's something that needs to be mentioned to him, how we can put certain things in the right context embedded into our website. I think now is the perfect time, since they're gonna be getting a hold of us and asking for our ideas of what we need, to get with them too,
They are working on that. So we started talking to them about that a while ago, and but having, like Mr. J. pointed out, having the forms online is one thing. So that's why we encourage people to come in, because they may not understand how to fill out the form. So we do everything we can to spur development and bring new business in. So we can email the form to them, we invite them in so we can explain it to them, so we can go over the things, and then it's online as well. So if it needs to be front and center online versus a little hidden, then yeah, we're looking at doing that with more, Mr. Greer and I spoke about just putting it more basic. Want to start a business, even if it's got nothing to do with Barberton, you contact the state to start a corporation or an LLC. So even those things that aren't on there that have nothing to do with Barberton per se, but they just help people start businesses, and where to go from there, because there's a checkoff list, I guess. So yeah, so we're working on that right now.
I talked to Melissa today, and Stacy said Stacy's working from home. Is Stacy working or is she off right now? What's exactly?
She's on paid administrative leave, but she's still working from home.
I have one last thing. Would you be able to email Mr. Griffin what we talked about?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I wanted to send that out to you and him, what we talked about.
Mr. Griffin, you over there?
I think he stepped away.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Okay.
He talked to his girlfriend.
I don't think the bear's gonna talk back.
It's probably the kind of girlfriend a lot of people want.
Ah, there he is.
Yeah.
There you go. You're back, Shorter.
Mr. Griffin? This is what we missed by, unfortunately, us not being in the room. The mayor's gonna email, him and I have been discussing what's the plan is down at Evie Webb Park on Elson and the steps that are about to be taken there, and he's gonna email you the information as well.
Okay, I know the city workers, there was about 3 of them down there, a truck or something that a neighbor told me about. They were looking at, that catch basin or whatever down there, and then she told me that they left, and I said, well, maybe they're just figuring out what they're gonna do or something, but anyway, like I said, this old guy lives back there, he hasn't had any hot water, I mean, like, you know, he's old, but he still needs hot water.
Can-
But,
Mr. Griffin,
you
can
know,
you,
we need to address it.
can you send me his address, Mr. Griffin?
It's 545 Van Buren,
Not on,
Herman Day.
don't do this in public.
Okay, and then I'll let you know, the city's been doing a few things down on the south side of town. They put a pipe in under Eastern Road, which relieves some stormwater pressure back near the creek there.
That would be good to help him, because I was gonna pump it out myself. My neighbor has a huge pump, and we were gonna take it down there, but we can't pump it out if it's coming up through the ground, you know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But, okay, well, thank you.
Okay.
I know we would, Herman would appreciate it.
Okay.
And he's very patient.
Anyone else?
Mrs. DeBevick.
I have a question. Mayor, you mentioned that, Ms. Carr is on paid administrative leave. Is that as a result of the COVID?
Yes.
Okay, so is she working from home then? Is she answering emails from home, or is she not working from home?
She is. She's doing that on her own, so she's on paid administrative leave, but she's been answering calls and emails from home.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, this
I have a
meeting,
question.
One more.
one more.
Regarding that, I'm sorry. So do we not have the ability then to, in the planning department, how many people do we have in the planning department? Do we not have the ability to have 2 people in there with 6 feet apart or working different shifts, or, you know, maybe one in the morning, one in the afternoon? Is there, I'm just curious.
No, so you have 2 people in the planning department. One is non-bargaining, one is bargaining. So there's some differences there, and Mrs. Doherty can go through that with you in great detail. So all of our departments, except for essential employees, are at 50% reduction. Since there is only 2, they could be up there together. But again, one is bargaining, one is not. So there could be a lot of issues potentially if not everyone's treated the same. So I know that I've talked to the department, and the switch is going to happen this week, where the people on paid administrative leave come back on in the building, and the others go on paid administrative leave. And we've got some things moving forward with that kind of slowed down because of COVID. So we're going to try to have both in the department at the same time with additional safeguards.
I'm sorry, the planning director that we give an offer to, did he accept that offer?
I'm not sure.
Who do we ask about that?
Mrs. Doherty?
Ms. Doherty?
Is she here? She's not here.
So you don't know if the offer has been accepted?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure, yes or no? Do you know if the offer's been accepted?
I do not know.
Okay, so no.
So
Okay.
an offer's made, and then there's still like a background check and all that, so it's a conditional offer,
Okay.
so.
I just don't want to hear about
I
it
reported,
online or.
I reported.
Oh, believe me, I feel the same way.
Yeah, it'd be nice to hear it first.
Mrs. Angela?
Mr. Jabber, I reported that last week that the city of Larson gave that particular person a conditional, offer. And
Correct.
that person was going to check with his employer, didn't want it out yet because he had not, had said anything to his present employer. So, there is somebody, if he's accepted it, I don't know as of yet.
Okay, it'd be nice if the council members and other city employees would hear about it first. Again, communication through email instead of hearing it through the grapevine, like, or through the newspaper, local
Nothing's
newspaper.
been said yet. That offer, I don't know if he's accepted it or yet.
All right.
Or not.
Again, so we can all communicate.
Along with me being chair of the planning, representing the city council, that I will be told.
All right, thank you for your time.
Anyone else? This meeting is adjourned at 7:15. Okay, we're gonna go right into this legislative meeting. Not gonna be very long. Okay, this is a special meeting of the Barberton City Council. Today is Monday, May 4th, 2020. The time is 7:15 p.m. Please all stand for a moment of silence to honor Ronald Street, a former councilman who passed away. Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mrs. Angela?
Here.
Mrs. Coburn?
Here.
Mrs. DeBevick?
Here.
Mrs. Fry?
Here.
Mr. Greer?
Present.
Mr. Griffin?
Here,
Mr. Heide?
Here,
Mr. Jaber?
Here,
First readings of ordinances and resolutions.
Resolution number 54, 2020. Presented by Mrs. Fry, titled Restoration of Local Government Fund. A resolution strongly urging the Ohio Governor and members of the Ohio General Assembly to fully restore the local government fund and declare an emergency.
Motion to suspend, Mrs. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rule is required by section 5.10 of the Barberton City Charter be suspended.
Thank you, and Mrs. DeBevick.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just second Mrs. Fry's motion on suspension.
Thank you. Motion was made by Mrs. Fry and second by Ms. DeBevick to suspend the rule as required by section 5.10 of the Barberton City Charter. Are there any remarks? Clerk, please call the roll on suspension.
Mr. Greer?
Yes.
Mrs. Fry?
Yes.
Mrs. Angela?
Yes.
Mr. Heide?
yes,
Mr. Jaber?
yes,
Mrs. DeBevick?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
yes,
Mrs. Coburn?
Yes.
Motion to adopt, Mrs. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of resolution number 54-2020.
Thank you, and Mrs. DeBevick.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to second Mrs. Fry's motion on adoption.
Thank you. Motion was made by Mrs. Fry and second by Mrs. DeBevick to adopt resolution number 54, 2020. Are there any remarks? Mr. Hyde.
thank you, Mr. President. I'm gonna say this for the third time in 2 weeks, and I will say it until I'm blue in the face or purple as my mask shows. Then Governor Kasich has destroyed city budgets and city local government funds by 45%. If now Governor DeWine wants to extend an olive branch off the tree that he viciously burned down, now would be the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other remarks? Clerk, please call the roll on adoption.
Mrs. Coburn?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mrs. DeBevick?
Yes.
Mr. Jaber?
Yes.
Mr. Height?
Yes.
Mrs. Angela?
Yes,
Mrs. Fry?
Yes.
Mr. Greer?
Yes. Okay. Our next meeting will be next Monday, May 11th. We will have both sessions, a committee of the whole, followed by a legislative meeting. And we will be doing every 2 weeks after that. Does anybody else have any more questions? Mr. Hyde?
Thank you, Mr. President. Are we gonna move forward with your idea of starting at 5:30?
Well, that's when we come back.
Okay.
Okay, when we come back, we're gonna start something on that line.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions?
Mrs. Fry?
Hi, this is not a question, this is just a comment. I think it went a lot smoother this week and it was so much better. I don't have a headache. And I just want to thank Renee and our tech team and the mayor and Keith and everybody who gave some input about how this could be made better. That's it.
Anyone else? I think three's a charm on this one. Went pretty well today, so. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Mrs. DeBevick?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to make a motion that we adjourn.
And Mr. Hyde?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll second the motion to adjourn.
Thank you. It was moved by Mrs. DeBevick and second by Mr. Hyde that we adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned at 7:23.
I'll give you that document that me and the mayor
Goodbye.
talked about.
Next week.
Yes, please.
Good.
thanks Renee,
Sure.
Renee, and for all your help.
Oh, you're welcome.
Renee, you're awesome. Thank you.